Hello, one. My name again is Jeff Dalgard with NexInfo Solutions. Thank you very much for taking time out of your hectic day to sit with us to discuss product lifecycle management, the game changer for many industries. Joining us are two subject matter experts, Arun Cavalier, who's my chief consultant and CEO, as well as Wilma Flanagan, my vice president of PLM practice. We have the ability to give such a presentation as we've been in the industry for roughly 30 years. NexInfo itself, we create operational excellence through an optimal blend of business process and software consulting services. And clearly we're well versed in numerous aspects, including IBP, enterprise resource planning, CRM, EPM, HCM, and dozens of other acronyms I can hand out to you. Now, we were founded back in 1999 and managed by computer industry and business process professionals. And their focus is and has always been a combination of optimal blend of business process and software through operational excellence. Now, our clients themselves range from your emerging markets to your Fortune 1000 firms. And we also have recognitions within several groups such as Gartner Reports, Silicon Review, and CIO Review, just to name a few. Now, partners within our organization include Oracle, SAP, Innovia, Propel, Infor, Teamcenter, and SpecPage. Of course, those are all focusing within our PLM practice. Now, for corporate information, now we are based in Southern California in Orange County, and we have offices throughout the country and world, including Washington State, Illinois, New Jersey, and in Europe and Ireland, as well as our Indian locations in Chennai and Delhi, as well as Bangalore. Now, with that comes operations across all those continents. Without further ado, we're going to move on to the agenda, which of course would include an introduction and of course the typical enterprise system, of course the evolution of PLM and the industries that have been impacted with such, and then on the back end of this, we'll talk about the benefits PLM brings to the table and then some closing remarks. Now, I would like to hand the baton over to Arun, my CEO and chief consultant. Arun, please.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm here for the presentation. I will be taking part of the presentation, and Wilma will be managing the others. Just as a quick introduction, I've been in the industry for over 30 years now and been working both on the business process side as well as on the information technology side. I typically engage in projects more at a process solution or process design level or project management and project governance. My domains of expertise include ERP, PLM, and supply chain. With that, I will hand it over for Wilma to introduce herself. Wilma, you may be on mute.
Technology, huh, Arun? Thank you, Arun. So on behalf of the PLM practice at NexInfo, I'd like to personally welcome each and every one of you that are participating today. We appreciate you taking the time to listen in to this webinar, which I think you'll find extremely interesting and insightful. So I have a long background in PLM as well as IT industry consulting and business consulting. So been a former startup CEO, COO, have been many years as an innovation PLM consultant, IT management consultant for most of my career, which has been over 25 years, as well as a CIO. And it's really been about working with clients to help identify first the compelling business issue that they're trying to address, right? It's not about implementing just a PLM solution. Really, you need to understand your processes, understand your areas of pain, and then look at what is the best solution out there for you, given those pains. All right. So we have many best practices to draw from, which help facilitate a smooth implementation for our clients. So going on to the key takeaways for today's session. We are going to go through some typical systems deployed and their roles of each of these systems in your environment. PLM emergence as a critical business system and how that has happened over the years. So you'll see an evolution of product lifecycle management. And then look at where does product lifecycle management fit in, and close on the PLM benefits. We'll also be going through benefits that have been realized by certain industries, so you can see an idea of what other people are already benefiting from PLM today. Just as a reminder, please submit your questions using the questions option on the sidebar, which will be checked for by our facilitator here for the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilma. So with that, I will actually would like to move into the next part, which is talking about what are the typical enterprise systems. But before that, I'd like to just quickly do a poll just to understand how many of you actually have been using or have used a PLM system or a PLM solution. So you should see the poll. Would be great if you can respond to it. I'll give it 10 more seconds and then we'll close the poll. For those who have not responded, if you can just quickly respond, that'll be really great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So looks like we have 90% of you have voted on the poll, and it looks like 50% have not used PLM or don't use a PLM solution today, and 50% do use it. That's the mix of the audience. So pardon me if I go a little more, those who are already using a PLM solution, pardon me if I go a little more deeper. So the key question becomes, what are typical enterprise systems look like, right? And we chose to go this route instead of just kind of talking about PLM and PLM benefits. We chose to go this route of actually talking about it in an overall enterprise landscape, because we wanted to make sure that people understand how PLM actually has evolved and how PLM plays a more critical role than it ever used to. So let me start with a typical enterprise landscape. And I would say this is a typical landscape of yesteryear, right? In the past, you had ERP as your primary system. And it was used to be the source of truth, and it used to be the primary system. And for example, I will start with the left top, and you have document management systems that actually are integrated or have interactions with ERP processes because you have document approvals, document history. You have forecasting and planning systems that allow you to plan for materials that are then transacted in ERP. Then you have a lot of other systems like CRMs, product hub, customer hubs, or R&D systems that also interact with ERP. Going over to the top right, and I'm skipping PLM for a purpose. Going over to the top right, you have quality systems, and you have a lot of times supplier qualification systems. So a lot of times you're managing supplier qualification, you're managing deviations, all of the quality aspects of your products. And then you have regulatory management systems. For those who are in a regulated industry, you would have a regulatory management system that allows you to be in compliance with your regulatory authorities. And then you have project management systems that also interact with the ERP. And especially if you're like a project-based industry, you have a lot more integration with the ERP and you're managing it. And in the yesteryears, PLM used to have this position, which is basically being a source for managing items and BOMs, because engineers used to do that in PLM. The engineers actually defined their items and BOMs in PLM. And so if you look at it from a key system standpoint, it used to be ERP is the key source of truth and had all of these processes. And then you had PLM, which was more a source of truth for engineering, but from a more like a supporting system for ERP. It was not necessarily a major system, right? So from there, we walk into what we call the evolution of PLM. So going back to, if you look at it from a standpoint of business drivers, there have been a lot of business drivers that have driven PLM to where it got to today. One of them being growth. So growth obviously means geographical or market growth. And so greater market demands means that you needed more quality guarantees on your products, right? And being able to manage your recalls better. And then you had increased regulations. As you moved into many countries, you have increased regulations. And even within countries, the regulatory authorities have been increasing the level of regulations on industries, especially when it comes to products that actually affect the health and safety of people, right? So you have increased regulations. And then you also have non-traditional competitors, typically people that you would not have considered competition, all of a sudden are now your competition. So you have what they call disruptors within your industry. And in order to cope with your disruptors, you actually have to come up with a better game plan, and you have to improve upon how you deliver, right? So if you look at it from what companies are reevaluating from a product development model is basically accelerating speed to market, trying to reduce costs, improve quality and reduce non-compliance risk, and improve on innovation, leverage technology. And then also you have the whole internal manufacturing to external manufacturing shift. So you have a lot of times companies that used to be traditionally a manufacturing company now are no longer manufacturing it within their own confines. They're actually manufacturing it across continents. And then you have multi-level specialized manufacturing, where you have companies that are manufacturing the product across 4 different manufacturing units, and they are all owned by different enterprises, but your product is moving from one place to the other. So all of this adds a lot of complexity into both your business model in terms of what you're trying to manage, as well as product management and keeping the genealogy of it, right? So if you look at it from a roadmap perspective, right, you will see that you have a lot of business issues for which there was the response was PLM becoming better and better to actually support those business needs. Initially, there was cost, right, which basically when you had the cost, your response was task automation. When you actually started looking at more in terms of quality, PLM was basically to do more concurrent engineering. Then you wanted to get time to market. And in order to get to time to market, you had to basically streamline processes, make it seamless, and you had to have integrated environments. And then from there, you actually move to innovation. Innovation obviously means that now you have to have extensive collaboration. So the response in terms, so if you look at it from a standpoint of a evolution, as the business model changes, as the business need changed, the PLM response also changed. So from a product lifecycle perspective, you are managing and you continue to change what you manage on a product. And you manage more information today, you manage it at a more granular level than you ever did. If you dial back, say 30 years back when I was at the beginning of my career, we did not have as much regulation. We did not have the level of granularity at which the information is managed today, right? So this is basically the evolution of the PLM itself. And so from a PLM solution standpoint, if you look at it, you have the, where we started off with was we manage item information and information changes on a daily basis, right? And then you started managing your bills of materials. So a typical enterprise, if you've been in manufacturing for many years, and you would have seen this evolution come by where 20 years ago, all you did was define items in your PLM system, right? And if you did have a PLM system then, or probably you had it in your ERP system and you just managed it in your inventory system. But you used to have information for items alone, and then it moved to bills of material. And from there, you started talking about collaboration of item and BOM information with other systems. So now this was an integration need, right? The evolution that we talked about in our previous slide, we're just going through the steps of how PLM specifically managed this, right? So then you started talking about managing quality data and managing product portfolios. As the market expanded, you look at it from a market needs perspective. If you're in a market with multiple products or multiple product lines, you need better management of that portfolio, because there are many times your products cannibalize each other, or they actually can grow on top of the other, and there could be a dependency. So managing product portfolios became a very important aspect. And then you have the collaboration of item and BOM information with other organizations. So this was a key step in the outsourced manufacturing. So as you moved from, okay, I was manufacturing it, I had my production shop floor supervisor, and I was able to provide all my information within my factory, right? Now, all of a sudden, your manufacturer is across the world and in another continent, doesn't even speak your language most of the time. So how are you going to ensure that you're going to get the same throughput, you're going to get the same quality, and you're actually going to be able to build the products to how you want it built? That's where there is a lot of support from PLM in terms of how specs are managed, how this whole collaboration is managed with these contract manufacturers. And then we evolved into collaboration of quality data with other organizations. So as many of you may have gotten to managing your kappas and deviations for your products, being able to identify product issues and actually rectifying it, because a lot of times it has to go all the way back to engineering, right? And you want to have the traceability of when there were product issues, quality issues that were resolved. So going into the collaboration of quality data with other organizations, and then the unification of item and manufacturer information. So, and then the unification of item and supplier information. And finally, of course, managing critical documentation. So if you look at it, this evolution has come a long way from just being an item to everything around an item, every process around an item, or every process that an item touches within your organization is controlled and managed by your PLM system. So with that, I'll actually hand over to Vilma to take us through how PLM, from being a supporting system for an ERP, changed its place in your organization to become one of the critical systems. Vilma, over to you.
Thank you, Arun. So as you heard from Arun, this has evolved over a number of years, but today where we sit, you know, PLM has really emerged as a critical system now in our clients' environments, right? So in addition to the bill of materials and the basic information on parts that were being collected, we now have full-fledged product and product portfolios, enhanced bill of materials. Manufacturers and suppliers now participate in the PLM, and quality. In many cases, there's a closed loop quality system where you can see CAPAs, and that is integrated into the PLM, as well as documentation. Anything related to the product documentation is stored within PLM and accessible and providing more visibility right throughout the organization, as well as its partnering organizations, right, to allow for collaboration. So you are seeing more integration of systems, right, as well. You see systems integrations with ERP, regulatory management, if there's CRM systems, hubs, R&D systems. All of this has become a complex, really a complex environment for many of our clients, right? But it's, you can clearly see the emergence of PLM as a critical system. Let's move on. So where we saw ERP was really the key system and source of truth for manufacturing. We now have PLM has emerged as a critical system and source of truth across the enterprise for all these information areas: product lifecycle management, products and product portfolios, bill of material, manufacturers and suppliers, quality and documentation. All right. So where manufacturing has ERP, engineering now has PLM. All right. So what drives the need for PLM? Why do clients look for a PLM solution? First and foremost, an enterprise is in control of its products, regardless of the phase of the life cycle and current ownership of the product. And that's really key for a lot of our clients. And remember, I was talking about addressing a compelling issue or need. It improves compelling issues surrounding product portfolio management, development, realization, and support, product-related cost reductions, where you can have cost reductions due to efficiency, as well as, synchronizing on parts to reduce the costs of product-related costs. Engineering changes, managing that whole process. Product recalls, if there are any. Further, you not only reduce the risk of recall with PLM, but in the case that you should have one, you're able to manage it much better. And warranty and recycling costs. So when you look at the globalization of the world, right, it has become essential for enterprises to be competitive in this globalizing world of more customized products.
So Vilma, within your experience, I know you've seen PLM for a long time. Would you look at it from saying that a PLM, in terms of being just a supporting system to being a critical system, and has not only changed the business landscape, but has also changed from the IT standpoint? How have you seen the change from an IT standpoint?
Yes, thank you for that question. And I think it's important to note that in today's environment, the business is really driving the need for PLM. And IT is becoming more of a supporting entity, right, to the business in providing that PLM environment. Now, with today's emergence of cloud technology, right, that also reduces the need for lots of resources in IT to support and install the PLM. All of that's done for you with the cloud, right? So there is definitely shifts, especially with technology, in the whole emergence of PLM as a critical system.
Thank you, Wilma. In fact, there is a very interesting anecdote or a joke that I saw the other day where a small kid looking up at the clouds is asking his dad, are there Linux servers up there? So, so for us, it was just cloud meant the clouds that were in the sky, but today's kids have a very different perception of cloud.
Right. And another thing to note here with respect to the cloud is, you know, before with PLM solutions, the cost of a PLM solution was pretty prohibitive, you know, back in the day. And I think with the cloud technology, that has reduced the cost significantly, where you now see a lot of smaller companies, mid-sized companies able to participate and compete with their competitors, you know, larger competitors on a more even scale, right? So they can participate in the PLM solution available today.
Thank you, Wilma. So I will take over this next section, which is the industries impacted, or actually industries that have benefited from this evolution of PLM. And as we move into some more detail, if you look at it from a engineering manufacturing industry standpoint, right? How have they benefited, or where do they use PLM? They use it typically for contract manufacturer collaboration, where all of their drawings, all of their product specifications, all of that is transmitted to the contract manufacturer through PLM, because now that became your source of truth. And so both the contractor as well as your company are seeing one revision that is being published, right? There is no ambiguity. When you're releasing a order to manufacture, you're also releasing which revision, and that revision is being downloaded. The latest revision is being downloaded by the contract manufacturer directly from your PLM. Right? So there is no email trail. There is nothing that you have to go back and check, right? The second is approved supplier compliance. A lot of these engineering and manufacturing companies need to qualify their suppliers and manage their suppliers very closely. They have periodic audits and making sure that all of these suppliers are in compliance with whatever policies your company has instituted. So how do you do that? Again, you're able to manage the qualification and the compliance, making sure that any particular item that you're sourcing is coming from an approved supplier by managing it in PLM. Regulatory audits and revision compliance. Now, this could be different. For example, if somebody came in and said, okay, show me, if you're in a regulated industry and your auditor came and said, show me how many revisions ago was this problem, right? And after that, what have you done to actually improve the safety of your product or address this particular product issue? You're able to show them the specific date on which your engineering made the change and released it. You're able to show them all of the changes that have happened since, right? So a lot of times you're able to go back to all of this information using a PLM system, right? Being able to manage revisions of products, your bills of material, and your specifications. So, and even your documentation attached. A lot of times you have in the high-tech industry, for example, bonding diagrams and things like that that you're managing, you actually are able to manage the revision of all of that, being in compliance. So starting with engineering and manufacturing industries, where you are able to manage contract manufacturer, approved supplier, and regulatory audits, as well as revision compliance. Same with wireless infrastructure. You're able to manage your approved suppliers and your regulatory audits. We move to consumer electronics. Now, in consumer electronics arena, you'll find that they have to manage a lot of products, and most of the time, product portfolios, right? Product becomes very different from when you're in maybe an engineering industry to a consumer electronics industry. In a consumer electronics industry, or even any consumer manufacturing industry, a product specifically can mean a number of products, right? And so you're looking at a portfolio instead of managing just one product, and many of them are like products. And then you actually also have quality compliance and recall management becoming very important in the consumer world. So if you look at it from how do I make sure that I know which revision had a specific issue so that I can go back and recall all of that material or all of that actually the impacted product alone. Now, obviously, you don't want to recall every product of yours that's out there. You want to make it as narrow as possible. And therein, a lot of this features that PLM has helps you do that. So I just walked you through some of these in terms of saying what is the specific features or what is the specific function of PLM. So I'm going to turn it on its head a little bit right now and say, because there are lots of industries that use this, right? So I'm going to say, for example, contract manufacturer collaboration, approved manufacturer. So this is a new one that I brought in now from my previous slide, which is not only are you actually managing your suppliers, but you're also able to manage where you manufacture it. So there's two aspects, right? One is the supplier of materials and the other one is where you manufacture it. So you can actually even say this bill of material will be manufactured in this facility, right? Or this is approved to be manufactured in this facility. So now all of a sudden you are managing not only your suppliers, but your contract manufacturer approvals also very closely. And then you have your regulatory audits and quality compliance, right? If you look at it, a lot of the industries, aerospace and defense, medical devices, pharma, semiconductor, food and beverage, steel manufacturing, right? And there may be many that I have not listed out here. So, and you may know those, but all of them have benefited from these features. And that's the evolution of the PLM. Many of them have been the reason for the evolution of the PLM, but in turn, the PLM evolution has also benefited these industries greatly.
Arun, if I may add to that, when you look at the quantifiable benefits that have been realized by these industries, it's phenomenal. When you look at time to market, you know, many have enjoyed now cutting off months from their timeline on getting products to market. In the aerospace and defense, they are winning contracts because of their ability to be much more agile, right, in their delivery, right, and response to contracts. So they're realizing revenue growth or opportunities, whereas before they may have missed them. In the medical device field, the time to market has been increased significantly. Also, some clients have actually realized the ability to design anywhere, develop anywhere, and ship from anywhere in the world, just with a PLM system. So there is huge benefits that are being realized today in today's market. And the list can go on. I mean, food and beverage is another great example of where, you know, from a formula creation, the ability to innovate they're realizing huge benefits with PLM solutions today.
That is correct. Thank you very much, Wilma, for that. Yes, there has been a lot of benefit, and I can go back with my own experience back in 1998 when I was at an electronics manufacturer that had plants down in Mexico. It wasn't that far. It wasn't even out in the other continent, right? It's the same continent. But in order for the first prototypes to be developed and for those first prototypes to be actually become commercial, it took a lot of effort because paperwork had to go back and forth and people had to go back and forth in order to ensure that what was being given as specification was being manufactured correctly down in Mexico. In today's world, that's not the case. You're with the optic fibers and with your internet being at whatever speeds they are, you're able to actually do all this electronically, and you're able to get on video calls. And at the same time, you're having systems like the PLM that actually are able to transmit information back and forth very well for that collaboration.
So I think the bottom line is I don't think anybody today would admit or would even allow you to remove their PLM system, because it would truly be Armageddon if they took it out.
Yes.
So this leads me to, why do companies choose PLM? So as you can see from what Arun was describing, you know, the advanced products and complexity of projects has been a driving reason for companies to choose PLM. It provides a collaborative model to support the product development process, right? Another one is reducing the compliance risk. I had a client a couple of years ago where the head of quality actually stood up when we were going through the business case, and just the cost of a recall more than paid for, you know, the implementation of PLM. And there was just no question that they needed a PLM system just to reduce the compliance risk, right, alone. Avoiding product liability exposure. Yeah, that's another key reason why people will choose a PLM. Configuration, CM compliance, and change management. It's all about the need for for revision control, change controls, electronic approvals, and enabling a CM compliant process. We're going from a very manual process, a lot of walking around, which is how I described how PLM, you know, was done in the years before, you know, was people walking around. That's how you did product lifecycle management. And now you have systems that replace a lot of what people were doing, right? Another area is increased innovation and acceleration of new product development, right? Getting products to market faster. It provides a more transparency, right, for all of the constituents in a company to see what is coming down the pike, what are some of the ideas for new product development, right? And being able to collaborate with your clients, with your customers on that new product development. This is huge. We're using social media and any kinds of e-commerce, right, that we have today to help in the innovation process. Management of intellectual property and information assets. So you're allowing companies to access the information easier, right? You have a single repository now. They don't have to go to multiple systems in order to access that data. So this gives you some foods for thought. You know, if you don't have a current PLM system, why do other companies choose PLM? And you've heard about a lot of the benefits that they've already realized to date. Okay, moving on. So let's go through the PLM benefits. I think we've talked about a lot of these, but just to reiterate, you know, the benefits of each one of these. So shorter time to market with centralized data control, shortening the product development life cycle, right? Reduce compliance risk. This you get with managing a single version of truth for all product data, alleviating the compliance risks. All right, decrease costs using collaborative design, reducing material and production costs. Increase productivity. This is huge. You're eradicating, you're eliminating time-consuming activities such as data replication, data duplication across systems, searching, emailing, working in silos, and walking around for approval. That in itself can help pay for what you save and or what you save in productivity can help you pay for your PLM system. Accelerate revenue growth with managing cost control and cost reductions, as well as supporting revenue growth. Driving innovation, allowing companies to increase innovation with collaboration and without compromising on agility or flexibility. And that is key. Enhance product quality, making it easier to manage control CAPAs that are detected, affecting overall product quality. And also in the product quality arena is helping to improve the audit process, right? Many of my clients have come back and said where it took hours to do an audit was done in minutes, you know, and they could quickly point using the system to whatever question the auditors had, which made them much more confident in the audit process, as well as, you know, their scores went up dramatically. Cross-organizational collaboration, change revision control, and CM compliance. So these are just the huge benefits of using PLM.
So Wilma, there is one question that's come up, and for others who want to submit questions, please go ahead and submit your questions. But the question is there one PLM that's better than the other? Which one do you recommend?
Okay, so there are many PLM solutions out there, and it really comes down to not which one is better than the other, but what industry and what problem you're trying to solve, right? Some are better depending on what size market you're in. If you're a smaller company, right, and cost is an issue, there might be other solutions that might be more that we would have you look at, right? So we don't really look at it as they all compete. They're very competitive, and they all have definitely stronger points in some areas, but it's really related to the industry that you're in.
Thank you, Wilma. And so with that, we move towards the close, but sorry, there's one more question that has come up, and that's the question is basically, is using cloud PLM a good solution? You want to take that one up?
Sure, you can chime in too. You know, we haven't, in some areas, we haven't seen a lot of people that have come from an on-prem environment migrate to actual PLM in the cloud, right? So we're seeing a lot of new PLM clients actually go to the cloud as their first foray into PLM. But I think it's slow in coming for the on-prem users, and there could be many reasons for that. One is the control that they feel that they have over their data and their systems, the issues around security. If they're in the defense arena, you know, there could be reasons why they don't want to go to the cloud. But we are seeing especially newer clients go to the cloud.
Okay.
Do you want to add to that, Brad?
Sorry? Go ahead.
Do you want to add to that? I mean,
yeah, I mean, no, I think I'm good with what you answered. The cloud relatively new and evolving, and you will find that everybody has a different level of maturity, both from what the cloud products offer as well as your ability to adopt the cloud products, right? Because a lot of times people say, yes, I want to go to the cloud, but then they want their processes to work like they developed it rather than adopting what's available in the cloud. So it's a question of both sides, basically the product maturity as well as your organization's maturity to be able to adopt the standardized processes. So, but there's one more question, and this goes to, so kappas and deviations are managed in quality, and documentation is managed in document management systems. Where does PLM come into that?
So PLM comes into it from a couple of directions. Many clients have already procured a quality solution. TrackWise is an example of one, right? And then they go to look at a PLM, and the question is, will that coexist with TrackWise? Which it can, right? Although it doesn't achieve all of the benefits of using a quality system that's integrated into a PLM system, where you get the closed loop process of evaluating those kappas and resolving those kappas and having the visibility of that information to the organization at large, right? So when you have multiple systems, you get rid of that capability of closed loop process, right? The same with documentation management systems. You can integrate with other document management systems that Documentum could be an example, right? But you have the power within PLM, right, to actually manage your documentation in there as well. So you can do both. It's a matter of how do you want to simplify your environment, not have multiple systems in which you have to maintain and support that integration when you have all of the power within the PLM environment.
Okay, thank you. And I think there's one more last question there that says, are other countries ahead of the US? How do you see FSMA impacting the food industry need for PLM?
Well, yes, there's, I think depending on the industry, there's certain, Europe is probably ahead of the United States in some arenas, the same as in Asia, right? And it really is based on industry and the solutions that they're using. But in some areas like medical device, I would say United States is probably leading in that respect from a PLM and for United States type and Canada.
High tech also, right?
Right, high tech as well.
I'm not familiar with FSMA, but I'm assuming that FSMA is the equivalent of FDA, right?
Yes.
So, but I think one of the question is, how do you see FSMA impacting the food industry need for PLM? Again, I have seen from an FDA standpoint or from a regulation standpoint, even food wholesalers, right, having to need PLM because when they are sourcing their food products from a lot of, for example, you have white label manufacturers versus you have branded manufacturers. Now, when you're white labeling it, it is pretty much your product. So a lot of the wholesalers have actually implemented PLM solutions to collaborate with their growers, in this case, growers or distributors of white label products. And I do believe there is a certain pretty high need in that area also, especially given the shelf life and things like that.
Yeah, I also think it comes into play when you have countries like Brazil, right, that export a lot of food products around the world, right? And there are products that are being developed in Europe that are exported to the U.S. and to Asia, right? So that's where FSMA comes into play, right? When you're exporting products, and is also based and governed by the country's requirements, right? Regulation requirements.
Thank you, Wilma. So with that, we are going to the last. No, we're going to go to the summary and then to the close.
Right. So in summary here, what we've gone through, and would love to get your feedback on today's webinar, is we've gone through the typical systems deployed and their roles within a company environment, how PLM has emerged as a critical business system, and the evolution of product lifecycle management, and also where product lifecycle management fits in today, and what some examples of what clients are benefiting and what industries have been benefiting from PLM and will continue to benefit, right, as they invest in their PLM journeys. And we've gone through the PLM benefits, right? So with that, a gift that we have for all of you is to thank you for your time today. We're offering to help you define compelling business challenges that can be addressed with a PLM solution and develop a roadmap based on your current system deployments. Deliverables, which would be at no cost to you, would be a roadmap based on your enterprise systems and priorities, and assistance in building a business case, right? And if you're interested in taking us up on this offer, please feel free to contact me at wilma.flanagan@nexinfo.com. And I look forward to working with you as well as our team in working with you and our partners as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilma. And Jeff, over to you to do a final close. And
again, thank you very much, everyone, for your time, your efforts, and energies, and dedicating to this PLM presentation. We are here to answer any and all your questions, not only during the conference, the presentation, but also after the fact. Feel free to utilize Wilma's email address to reach out, and then we can cascade to whom that question is best answered by from there. Again, thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking with each and every one of you again. Have a great day.